The stars seemed to bend for a moment. A small tear in the black fabric of space appeared, glowing with blue light. The tear grew larger, stretching wider until it formed a massive circular portal. Through this strange hole came the nose of a giant ship, dark gray metal gleaming under the light of nearby stars. "Jump complete, Admiral," Captain Jin said, his eyes fixed on the control panel. "All systems working." Admiral Han nodded slowly, his weathered face showing no emotion, but inside his heart raced. They had done it. After 10 years of planning, they had jumped right into the heart of enemy space. "Status report," Han ordered, his voice calm despite the danger they were in. "Hull integrity at 100%. Weapons ready, shields at full power," Jin replied. He was young, barely 30, but Han trusted him more than anyone else on the ship. The main screen showed their target, the Stellar Empire's Central Command Station. It was huge, shaped like an 8-sided star, with ships coming and going from its many docking bays. The station orbited between two suns, their light making the metal structure shine like a jewel. "They've spotted us," Engineer Park called from her station. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she monitored the ship's new jump drive. "Their sensors are lighting up like crazy." Han stood from his command chair. He was tall for a human, with gray hair cut short in military style. His uniform was simple but carried the marks of human resistance, a blue patch showing Earth surrounded by stars. "Send the message," he ordered. "All frequencies." On the Imperial Command Station, Supreme Commander Taiho was enjoying a quiet shift when the alarms began to blare. Red lights flashed across the command center as officers rushed to their stations. "Report," Taiho demanded, rising from his chair. He was dressed in the black and gold uniform of the Empire. His rank shone by the 6 stars on his collar. "Sir, a ship has appeared out of nowhere just 10,000 kilometers from the station," an officer shouted. "Impossible," Taiho said. "Nothing can jump that close to the station. Our shields prevent it." But the main screen showed the truth. A massive warship, unlike any design the Empire used, sitting right in front of them. It was shaped like an arrow, with engines that glowed blue at the back and weapon ports visible along its sides. "Identity?" Taiho asked, his voice now softer, almost afraid of the answer. The officer's face turned pale. "Sir, it's human." The room fell silent. Everyone stopped moving. Humans were supposed to be gone, wiped out in the Great Purge 20 years ago. The Empire had destroyed Earth and hunted down every human colony and ship. At least that's what they had been told. Taiho felt his blood run cold. "That's not possible," another officer called out. "Sir, they're broadcasting a message on all frequencies." "Put it on," Taiho ordered. The screen changed to show the bridge of the human ship. In the center stood a man in a simple uniform. Taiho recognized him immediately, though he looked older now, with gray in his once black hair. "This is Admiral Han of the human stellar ship Thunderbolt," the man said, his voice clear and strong. "We have returned." Taiho felt his legs grow weak. Han. It couldn't be. Han had died in the first wave of the Purge, along with millions of other humans. "Sir, what are your orders?" an officer asked, breaking the silence. Taiho couldn't speak. He knew Han. They had been friends once before the Emperor declared humans enemies of the Empire, before the lies, before the killing. "Sir, we need orders. The fleet is asking what to do." Taiho finally found his voice. "Tell all ships to surround the human vessel, but do not fire. I repeat, do not fire without my order." Back on the Thunderbolt, Han watched the Imperial ships moving into position around them. "They're surrounding us, Admiral," Jin said. 5 cruisers, 12 destroyers. More are coming." Han nodded. "As expected. They're surprised. Good." Engineer Park approached from her station. "The jump drive is cooling down, sir. We have about 6 hours before we can jump again." "We won't need to jump," Han replied. "Not yet." He turned to Lieutenant Yoon, who stood at the communications station. "Any response from the command station?" "Nothing official, sir," Yoon answered. "But I'm picking up a lot of chatter. They're confused. Some of them are saying it's impossible for humans to be here. Han allowed himself a small smile. They think they killed us all. The Emperor has been telling lies for 20 years. He looked around at his crew, all human, all survivors of the Purge. Some had been just children when the Empire attacked Earth. Now they were soldiers, engineers, and pilots, all fighting for the truth. "Admiral," Jin called out. "We're receiving a private transmission. It's encrypted with an old code. From before the Purge." Han's eyes widened slightly. "Put it through to my station." He walked to his private screen and watched as a face appeared, older, wearing the uniform of the Empire, but still familiar. "Han," Commander Tai-Ho said, his voice barely above a whisper. "You're alive." "Hello, old friend," Han replied. "Surprised to see me?" Tai-Ho's face showed pain and confusion. "How? We were told all humans were eliminated. The Emperor showed us proof." "Lies," Han said simply. "Just like everything else the Emperor has told you." He leaned closer to the screen. "You once asked me to trust you, Tai-Ho. Now I'm asking the same. Give me 1 hour. Don't attack my ship." "The Minister of Defense is on his way," Tai-Ho said. "He'll order your ship destroyed." "Then, we don't have much time," Han replied. "I have proof, Tai-Ho. Proof that will change everything you think you know about the Empire, about the Purge, about why humans were really targeted." Tai-Ho's face showed doubt, but also a flicker of something else. "Hope? What kind of proof?" The kind that shows the Emperor has been lying to everyone, not just about humans. The kind that explains why your memories of the time before the Purge are unclear." Tai-Ho's eyes widened. Han had hit a nerve. Like many in the Empire, Tai-Ho had gaps in his memory from around the time of the human Purge. 1 hour, Tai-Ho finally said. "No more." And this conversation never happened. The screen went black. Han returned to the bridge. "Captain Jin, prepare a small team. You're going to infiltrate the command station." Jin nodded. "Target?" "The central data core. We need to confirm it's still there before we make our next move." "And if we're discovered?" Jin asked. "Then the Thunderbolt will have to fight its way out," Han said. "But I don't think it will come to that. An old friend might just help us." He looked out at the Imperial ships surrounding them and the massive station beyond. 20 years of hiding, building strength, and gathering allies had led to this moment. "The Empire thinks humans are weak," Han said to his crew. "They think we're extinct. Today they learn how wrong they are." Engineer Park smiled from her station. "And they'll learn why you don't corner humans. We get creative when we're desperate," Han nodded. The plan was in motion. After 20 years, humans were back in the heart of the Empire that had tried to destroy them. And this time, they brought the truth with them, a truth that would shake the Empire to its core. Captain Jin checked his weapon one last time. The small team of 4 stood in the Thunderbolt's launch bay, dressed in dark suits designed to block Imperial sensors. "Remember," Jin said to his team, "we need to move fast and stay hidden. Our goal is the data core on level 7. The youngest member of the team, Officer Lee, looked nervous. "What if the station layout has changed since our intel?" "It hasn't," Jin assured him. "The Empire builds everything the same way. They don't like change." Their small shuttle was ready, designed to look like Imperial maintenance craft. While the Empire's eyes were on the Thunderbolt, Jin's team would slip in through a service entrance on the station's underside. On the command deck of the station, Commander Tai-Ho stared at the human warship on the main screen. His mind raced with conflicting thoughts. Han was alive. Humans still existed. Everything the Empire had told him about the Purge was a lie. "Commander," an officer called out. "Minister Doyen's ship is arriving." Tai-Ho's jaw tightened. "Minister." Doyen was the Emperor's voice in military matters. His arrival meant trouble. "Prepare the meeting room," Tai-Ho ordered, "and keep all weapons locked. No one fires at the human ship without my command." 10 minutes later, Minister Doyen swept into the command center. He was a small man with a thin face and cold eyes, wearing the red and black robes of the Imperial Council. Commander Taiho, Doyun said, his voice sharp. Why is that human ship still intact? It should have been destroyed the moment it appeared. Taiho stood at attention. Minister, we don't know how they got past our jump barriers. We need to understand their technology before we attack. Their technology? Doyun laughed. Humans are primitive. They have no technology we need to fear. Then how did they appear right in front of our most secure station? Taiho asked. Doyun's eyes narrowed. Are you questioning Imperial wisdom, Commander? No, Minister, I am trying to do my job properly. Your job is to obey, Doyun snapped. I want that ship destroyed within the hour. After Doyun left to freshen up, Taiho quickly moved to his private office. He needed to warn Han, but direct. Communication would be too risky now. As he sat at his desk, a strange feeling washed over him. Memories flickered in his mind. Memories he hadn't thought about in years. He saw himself and Han, younger, wearing different uniforms. They stood, side by side on a bridge of a ship. They were friends? More than that, they had fought together. But that was impossible. Humans had always been enemies of the Empire, hadn't they? Taiho's head began to hurt. The more he tried to remember, the more his head pounded. On the Thunderbolt, Engineer Park worked frantically on the jump drive. The new technology had worked perfectly for their arrival, but the strain had been enormous. How's it looking? Admiral Han asked, entering the engine room. Park wiped sweat from her forehead. Not good. The crystals are cracked. We can make one more jump, maybe two, but we need time to fix it properly. Han nodded. Do what you can. We might need to leave quickly. Admiral, Park said, hesitating. What if this doesn't work? What if, even with the proof, the Empire doesn't believe us? Han placed a hand on her shoulder. Then at least we tried, but I know Taiho. Once he sees the truth, he'll make the right choice. You trust him that much? Even after he helped destroy Earth? He didn't know what he was doing, Han said firmly. None of them did. Jin's team moved silently through the maintenance tunnels of the Imperial Station. Their suits blocked the heat sensors, and they had timed their entry between security sweeps. Free. Data core should be 2 levels down, Jin whispered. They reached a junction where 2 Imperial technicians were working on a panel. Jin motioned for his team to wait. They couldn't afford to be discovered, but they also couldn't hurt Imperial civilians. That would only prove the Emperor's lies about humans being violent. After 5 long minutes, the technicians finished their work and left. Jin's team continued forward. Back on the command deck, Lieutenant Yoon was monitoring Imperial communications. Admiral, she called to Han. I'm picking up a lot of encrypted messages being sent from the station to the capital. Han frowned. Can you decode them? Working on it, Yoon replied. But there's something strange. Some of these encryption keys are older than the Empire itself. Han's interest piqued. What do you mean? These codes date back to before the Stellar Empire was formed, Yoon explained. But that was over 200 years ago. Why would they use such old codes? Because someone doesn't want the current Empire to know what they're saying, Han realized. Keep working on it, Lieutenant. That might be the break we need. Minister Doyun stood in a private communication room, speaking to a hologram of General Sunwoo, the Empire's military leader. The humans have returned, Doyun said, his voice tight, with fear. Just as you warned they might. The hologram of General Sunwoo frowned. Impossible. We eliminated all their worlds. Clearly we missed some, Doyun snapped. Their ship is sitting right outside the station. What if they have the old records? What if they know the truth? Then we must destroy them immediately, Sunwoo replied. I am on my way with the Imperial fleet. Delay them until I arrive. The hologram disappeared, leaving Doyun alone. His hands trembled slightly. After all these years, their carefully constructed lies might finally be exposed. Jin's team reached the data core chamber. It was a massive room filled with tall black columns, each storing parts of the Empire's most important information. The room was guarded, but fewer personnel were present than expected. Most had been called to deal with the crisis of the human ship. There. Jin pointed to a specific column. That's the one with the historical archives. We need to confirm it still exists. Officer Lee used a small device to scan the column from a distance. I'm reading the data structure now. It's there, Captain. The complete archives from before the Empire. Jin allowed himself a small smile. Good. That's what Admiral Han needed to know. He tapped his communicator. Thunderbolt, this is Jin. Phase 1 complete. The package is confirmed. Admiral Han received Jin's message with relief. Tell them to get out of there, he ordered Lieutenant Yoon. Time for Phase 2. He turned to his second-in-command. Prepare for a direct communication with the station. I need to speak with Commander Taiho again. Taiho was alone in his quarters when the private communication alert sounded. He hesitated. Before accepting the call, Han's face appeared on the screen. Our hour is almost up, Han said without greeting. Minister Doyen wants to destroy my ship. I know, Taiho replied. I can't stop him. The Imperial fleet is on its way. We confirmed the historical archives still exist in your data core, Han said. You haven't destroyed them. Taiho's brow furrowed. Why would we destroy our own history? Because it's not the history you think it is. Han leaned closer to the screen. Taiho, the Empire wasn't created naturally. It was engineered using a biological weapon that altered the memories of 5 species, including your own. That's impossible, Taiho whispered. But the headache returned. Stronger this time. Is it? Han asked. Then why can't you remember our time serving together? Why are there gaps in your memory from the time right before the purge? Taiho closed his eyes, fighting against the pain. Images flashed through his mind. Humans and his people working side by side on ships, on stations, on planets, friends, allies, not enemies. The proof is in your own archives, Han continued. The Emperor keeps it locked away, but it's still there. The truth about how the Empire was really formed, about why humans had to be eliminated. Why? Taiho managed to ask through the pain. Because we were immune to the memory weapon, Han replied simply. We couldn't be controlled. That's why Earth had to be destroyed. That's why all humans had to die. The door to Taiho's quarters slid open. Minister Doyen stood there, flanked by security officers. Commander Taiho, Doyen said coldly. You are relieved of duty on suspicion of treason. The screen went black as Han's signal was cut off. Taiho stood slowly, his hand moving to his weapon. The choice before him was clear. Continue to serve the lies he had been fed for 20 years, or help the humans uncover the truth. Minister, Taiho said, his voice steady despite the pounding in his head. I need to show you something in the data core. The situation on the command station quickly turned chaotic. Security officers loyal to Minister Doyen had taken control of the main deck. Commander Taiho was under guard in his own office. The Imperial fleet was less than an hour away. Meanwhile, Captain Jin and his team were hiding in a storage room near the data core, trapped by the increased security presence. What now, Captain? Officer Lee whispered, clutching his weapon. Jin checked his communicator, but the signal to the Thunderbolt was being blocked. We need to get back to our ship, but first we need to download part of the archives. The data core is now heavily guarded, another team member said. Jin thought for a moment. Then we need a distraction. On the Thunderbolt, Admiral Han paced the bridge. They had lost contact with Jin's team and Commander Taiho was no longer responding. Lieutenant Yoon, any progress on those old encryption codes? Han asked. Yoon nodded excitedly. Yes, Admiral, I've broken through. You need to see this. Han moved to her station. On her screen was a document so old that parts of it were faded. It showed 5 alien races, including Taiho's species, and detailed something called Project Unity. What is this? Han asked, though he already suspected the answer. It's the original plan for the Empire's creation, Yoon explained. They didn't form naturally through alliances. The 5 races were modified. Their memories were changed to make them believe they had always been one empire. Han's face darkened. And humans? We were meant to be included. Yoon said. But the compound didn't work on us. Our brain chemistry was different, so instead of forcing us to join, they decided to eliminate us. Can you send this to the station? Broadcast it? Yoon shook her head. Not while they're jamming our signals. We need someone inside to help us. Han looked out at the Imperial station. Then we need to buy Jin more time. He turned to his weapons. Officer, prepare to fire on the station's communication array. Minimal damage, just enough to disable their jamming. Admiral, Engineer Park called from her station. The jump drive is partially repaired. We can make one jump if needed, but not far. Han nodded. Good work. Let's hope we don't need it. In his office under guard, Commander Taeho struggled with his thoughts. The pain in his head had grown worse, but with it came more flashes of memory. Real memories, he was beginning to believe. He saw himself as a younger officer, serving on a joint mission with humans. He saw Han, his friend, warning about something dangerous in the higher command. He remembered reports of a new compound being tested, and then nothing. A blank space where memories should be. The door slid open, and Minister Doyen entered with 2 guards. The Imperial fleet will arrive soon, Doyen said coldly. General Sunwoo himself is coming to deal with this human problem. And with you. Taeho looked up. Why are you so afraid of what the humans might say? What's in our archives that you don't want anyone to see? Doyun's face tightened. You're starting to remember, aren't you? The treatment is wearing off. It happens to some. The longer-lived species sometimes need additional doses. Treatment? Taeho asked. You've been drugging me? Not just you? Everyone. Doyen moved closer. Do you think 5 different species would willingly join together without conflict? Would naturally develop the same values, the same goals? It took science to create our perfect empire. A loud explosion rocked the station before Taeho could respond. Alarms began to blare. The humans are attacking, one of the guards shouted. Doyen rushed out, leaving one guard with Taeho. It was the opening he needed. With a quick move, Taeho knocked the guard unconscious and took his weapon. He had to reach the data core. The Thunderbolt's targeted shot had hit the station's external communication array, disabling the jamming signal. Signal restored, Lieutenant Yoon reported. I'm picking up Jin's team. Get them out of there, Han ordered. But before they could act, sensors detected new ships arriving. 3 massive Imperial battlecruisers appeared from jump points, led by an even larger vessel, the Emperor's flagship. Admiral, the weapons officer called out. We're being targeted by multiple weapon systems. Han remained calm. Hold position. Don't return fire unless they shoot first. The main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. The face that appeared belonged to a stern-looking man in a highly decorated uniform. General Sunwoo, the Empire's military leader and the architect of the human purge. This is General Sunwoo of the Imperial Fleet, he announced. Human vessel, power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Han stepped forward. This is Admiral Han of the HSS Thunderbolt. We have no hostile intentions. We came to reveal the truth about the Empire's creation. Sunwoo's face showed no emotion. There is no truth except what the Emperor declares. Your ship will be destroyed as an example to any who would threaten our unity. The transmission ended. They're charging weapons. The tactical officer reported. Han made his decision. Chief Hyun, send the signal now. Chief Hyun, the communications officer, nodded and pressed a sequence on her console. Signal sent, Admiral. Han turned to his crew. Raise shields to maximum. It's time to show them what humans can really do. In the storage room, Jin's team received the restored signal from the Thunderbolt. New orders, Jin told his team. We need to reach the main control room for the station's broadcast system. As they prepared to move, the door to their hiding place suddenly opened. Jin raised his weapon, then quickly lowered it. Commander Taeho, he said, surprised. Taeho stood in the doorway, looking shaken but determined. Captain Jin, Admiral Han sent you. Jin nodded cautiously. I need to see the proof, Taeho said. I'm starting to remember, but I need to be sure. Jin studied the commander's face, then made a decision. We have it. but we need to broadcast it to the entire station. Can you help us? Yes, Taiho said. But first, there's someone else you need to meet. He stepped aside, revealing a woman in a medical uniform. This is Dr. Minji. She's been working in secret for years. Dr. Minji stepped forward. Her eyes showed she hadn't slept in days. I've developed a counter-agent to the memory compound. If we can distribute it through the station's air system, people will start to remember the truth. Outside the station, the Imperial ships prepared to fire on the Thunderbolt. But before they could, space seemed to ripple in several places around. Then 6 more ships appeared, human vessels that had been hiding in nearby systems waiting for the signal. Admiral, Chief Hyan reported with a smile, the Resistance fleet has arrived. On the main screen, the new human ships moved into defensive positions around the Thunderbolt. They were smaller than the Imperial battlecruisers, but their designs were sleek and advanced. This is Commander Jaewon of the HSS Defiant. A new voice came through the communication system. Thunderbolt, we've got your back. Han nodded with satisfaction. General Sunwoo thought he eliminated humanity. But we've been building, preparing, waiting for this day. The Imperial ships hesitated, suddenly outnumbered. Send a message to all ships, including the Imperial vessels, Han ordered. Tell them to stand by for an important transmission from the station. In the station's main control center, Jin, Taiho, and Dr. Minji worked quickly. The captain's team had secured the room, while Taiho used his command codes to access the broadcast system. The counteragent is being pumped into the air system now, Dr. Minji reported. It will take time to affect everyone, but those who have been recently dosed will start remembering almost immediately. Jin connected a data device to the main console. And now for the proof. Broadcasting to all decks and all ships in range. The screens throughout the station and on every ship nearby suddenly changed. They showed ancient records, scientific reports, and video from 200 years ago. The documents detailed how the 5 species had once been at war, until a group of power-hungry leaders decided to use a biological agent to rewrite their people's memories. They created a false history of a unified empire that had always existed. The screens then showed the human resistance, how humans had been immune to the compound and had tried to warn the other species, how the empire's leaders had ordered Earth destroyed to silence the truth. On the command deck, Minister Doyen watched in horror as his life's lie was exposed. Around him, officers began to look confused, then angry, as memories long suppressed started to surface. The final image was of Admiral Han and Commander Taiho as young officers, standing together as friends before the purge. Taiho, watching from the control center, felt the last pieces of his memory fall into place. Tears filled his eyes as he remembered everything: the truth, the betrayal, the countless innocent lives lost to maintain the lie. He stepped forward and pressed the broadcast button. His face now appeared on all screens. "This is Commander Taiho," he said, his voice firm despite his emotion. "What you have seen is the truth. I remember now. We all will soon. The Empire as we know it is built on lies and manipulation. I hereby denounce the Emperor and call for all ships and stations to stand down." As he finished speaking, a new alarm began to sound, harsh and urgent. "What's happening?" Jin asked. A technician looked up from his console, face pale with fear. "General Sunwoo has activated the station's self-destruct system. We have 30 minutes before the core goes critical." "Self-destruct activated," the station's computer announced in a calm voice. 29 minutes until core breach." Captain Jin turned to Commander Taiho. "Can you stop it?" Taiho shook his head. "The self-destruct requires the Emperor's code to cancel. Only General Sunwoo would have it." "How many people are on this station?" Jin asked. "Over 5,000, Taiho replied, his face grim. "Mostly crew but also civilians, families." Jin activated his communicator. "Admiral Han, we have a situation. The station's self-destruct has been activated. We need to evacuate everyone." On the Thunderbolt, Han received Jin's message with growing concern. The situation had just become much worse. "How much time?" he asked. "Less than 30 minutes, Jin's voice replied. Han turned to his bridge crew. "Send a message to all human ships. We're conducting a rescue operation. Prepare to take on evacuees." Lieutenant Yoon looked shocked. We're going to rescue them? The, same people who tried to destroy us? They're victims too, Han said firmly. Manipulated by their leaders. We won't let innocent people die. Han opened a channel to all ships in the area, including the Imperial vessels. This is Admiral Han. The command station's core has been set to overload. We have less than 30 minutes to evacuate. The human fleet is offering assistance. Please coordinate with us to save as many lives as possible. To his surprise, the Imperial ships did not immediately respond. Their weapons remained pointed at the human vessels. Then a new voice came through the communications system. This is Director Suk of Imperial Intelligence. I'm starting to remember. The counteragent is working. A woman's face appeared on the main screen. She looked confused but determined. I have authority over the fleet while General Sun Woo is on the station, she continued. All Imperial vessels lower weapons. Assist with evacuation immediately. The weapons on the Imperial ships powered down. Han nodded in satisfaction. Chief Hyun, coordinate with all vessels. Thunderbolt will take the lead in rescue operations. Back on the station, panic was spreading. The evacuation order had gone out and people rushed toward escape pods and docking bays. In the control center, Taiho made a decision. We need to split up, he told Jin. Your team should help with the evacuation. I need to find General Sun Woo. He might have the code to stop this. I'm coming with you, Jin insisted. My team can handle the evacuation. Taiho nodded. Doctor, Minji, go with them. Make sure as many people as possible get the counteragent before they leave. As the others left, Taiho turned to Jin. General Sun Woo will be heading for his private shuttle on the upper docking bay. We need to hurry. The evacuation was chaos. People crowded into escape pods while others rushed to board any ship that had room. Imperial and human crew worked side by side, all previous conflicts forgotten in the face of the emergency. One young, Imperial engineer technician Yuna was helping direct people to the escape routes when she noticed a problem in the station's power grid. The main power couplings are failing too quickly, she told her supervisor. At this rate, we'll lose life support before everyone can evacuate. Her supervisor looked overwhelmed. There's nothing we can do. Just focus on getting people out. Yuna bit her lip, then made a decision. She broke away from the evacuation line and headed toward the engineering section. There, she found Engineer Park from the Thunderbolt working frantically on a control panel. What are you doing here? Yuna asked. You should be evacuating. Trying to slow the core breach, Park replied without looking up. If those power couplings fail completely, we lose 15 minutes of evacuation time. Yuna moved beside her. I can help, I know this system. Park gave her a quick look, then nodded. 2 sets of hands are better than 1. Admiral Han stood on the bridge of the Thunderbolt, watching as shuttles and escape pods streamed away from the station. His ship had already taken on hundreds of evacuees. 17 minutes until core breach, his tactical officer reported. How many still on the station? Han asked. Sensors show approximately 2,000 life signs, Chief Hyun answered. The evacuation is proceeding, but not fast enough. Han made a quick decision. Move the Thunderbolt closer to the main docking bay. We can take on more people directly. Sir, the tactical officer warned, if we're that close when the station goes, we might not get away in time. Then we'll have to make sure everyone is off before that happens, Han replied firmly. As the Thunderbolt maneuvered closer to the station, Han received a new communication. Admiral, this is Commander Jae-hwan of the Defiant. We've detected a problem. Some of the Imperial shuttles leaving the station are not responding to hails. Han frowned. Track them. Make sure they don't try to jump away. Jin and Taiho fought their way through the crowded corridors, moving against the flow of evacuating people. They finally reached the upper docking bay, just in time to see General Sun Woo boarding his private shuttle with a group of guards. General, Taiho called. Stop! Sun Woo turned, his face showing no surprise. Commander Taiho, I see the counteragent has affected you. A pity. Give us the abort code, Jin demanded, his weapon raised. There are still thousands of people on board. Sun Woo smiled coldly. Those people are now compromised. Their minds have been polluted with false memories. The Empire will be better without them. Those aren't false memories, Taiho said angrily. You've been feeding us lies for decades. The Empire was built on deception. The Empire was built on necessity, Sunwoo replied. 5 species, constantly at war, destroying whole planets ensue. Their conflicts. The memory modification ended those wars. It created peace. By force, Jin said. By taking away people's choice. And now you've ruined it all, Sunwoo snarled. With your pathetic human morality and your obsession with truth. He pulled out a weapon and fired at them. Jin and Taeho dove for cover behind cargo containers as Sunwoo's guards joined the attack. In the engineering section, Park and Yuna worked desperately to stabilize the power grid. We've bought them some time, Yuna said, wiping sweat from her face. But the containment field is still failing. Park nodded grimly. We need to get out of here soon, 10 minutes at most before this whole section goes. Yuna looked at the Imperial engineer who had once been her enemy. Why are you helping us? After what the Empire did to your people? Because that's what humans do, Park replied simply. We help people in danger, no matter who they are. A sudden explosion rocked the section, knocking both women off their feet. Warning lights flashed red. The field is collapsing, Yuna shouted. We need to go now. On the Thunderbolt's bridge, Han received troubling news. Admiral, we've detected Imperial suicide ships launching from the far side of the station, Lieutenant Yoon reported. They're heading for our fleet. Han's eyes widened. Suicide ships? Small craft with pilots who seem to be not in control of themselves, Yoon explained. Their brain patterns are strange, like they're being controlled remotely. Han understood immediately. The memory modification technology. They're using it to control pilots. He opened a channel to the human fleet. All ships, be advised, incoming suicide craft. Evasive maneuvers, but try not to destroy them. The pilots are victims. As the human ships began to scatter, a new message came through from Director Suk. Admiral Han, I've discovered something. The Emperor has been monitoring this entire situation. He's ordered all records of today's events to be erased. He's trying to maintain the lie. Where is the Emperor now? Han asked. No one knows, Suk replied. He never leaves the capital planet. But I've given all ships access to the truth. It's spreading across Imperial space as we speak. Han nodded. Good work, Director. Admiral, the tactical officer suddenly called. Out. Jin and Commander Taeho are trapped in the upper docking bay. They're in a firefight with General Sunwoo. Han's face hardened. How long until core breach? 8 minutes. Han made his decision. Tell Engineer Park and anyone else still on board to get to the nearest escape pod immediately. Then set course for the upper docking bay. We're going to get our people out. As the Thunderbolt changed course, Han looked out at the chaos around them, the escaping shuttles, the fighting in the docking bay, the suicide ships approaching. After 20 years of hiding, humans had returned and thrown the mighty Empire into complete disarray. The station shuddered violently as another power coupling failed. Time was running out. The shattered command of the Empire was crumbling before their eyes. But would anyone survive to build something better from the ruins? The Thunderbolt raced toward the upper docking bay as the station continued to fall apart around them. With only 7 minutes until core breach, every second counted. In the docking bay, Jin and Taeho were pinned down behind cargo containers. General Sunwoo and his guards fired steadily at their position, making it impossible to reach the shuttle. We can't stay here, Jin said, checking his weapon's power level. The whole station is about to blow. Taeho nodded grimly. We need to reach Sunwoo. He's the only one with the Emperor's codes. A new explosion rocked the bay as part of the ceiling collapsed, crushing 2 of Sunwoo's guards. The general used the distraction to retreat toward his shuttle. He's getting away, Jin shouted. Before they could move, the far wall of the docking bay exploded inward. Through the new opening came the nose of the Thunderbolt, its hull scraping against the station structure as it forced its way inside. The ship's side hatch opened and a voice boomed over the external speakers. Jin? Taeho, get on board now. Jin grinned. Admiral Han has perfect timing. They sprinted for the Thunderbolt, dodging weapons fire from Sun Wu's remaining guards. As they reached the hatch, Jin turned and fired one last shot. It hit Sun Wu's shuttle, just as the engines were starting, causing a small explosion that disabled the craft. "We need Sun Wu alive," Jin shouted to Han as they boarded. "He has the abort codes." Han nodded. "Get a security team to that shuttle. 5 minutes until core breach." In the engineering section, Park and Yuna were running for their lives. The power couplings had completely failed, and the core breach was accelerating. "This way," Yuna called, leading them down a maintenance tunnel. "There's a small hangar with emergency shuttles." They reached the hangar just as another explosion shook the station. Only one shuttle remained, and its systems were already active. "Someone's inside," Park said, raising her tool like a weapon. The shuttle door opened to reveal Dr. Minji. "Hurry! I've been looking for survivors in this section." They climbed aboard, and Minji quickly launched the shuttle away from the dying station. Security officers from the Thunderbolt stormed General Sun Wu's damaged shuttle. They found him injured but alive, still trying to repair his engines. "It's over, General," the security chief said. "You're coming with us." They dragged him to the bridge where Han, Jin, and Taiho waited. The Admiral's face was hard as stone. "The abort codes, General," Han demanded. "Now," Sun Wu laughed bitterly. "It's too late. Even with the codes, you'd need to input them at the main control center. There's no time to get there." 3 minutes. "To core breach," the tactical officer reported. Han turned to his engineer. "Can we tow the station away from the fleet? Get it far enough that the explosion won't damage the evacuation ships?" The engineer shook his head. "The station is too massive. Our engines aren't strong enough." "The jump drive," Jin suddenly said. "We could use it to move the station." Engineer Park's voice came through the communication system from the small shuttle she had escaped on. "The jump drive isn't designed for that. It would burn out completely." "But would it work?" Han asked. There was a pause. "Yes," Park finally answered. "If we attached to the station's main structure, we could jump at a safe distance away. But Admiral, you'd have to stay on board to initiate the jump. There wouldn't be time to get away." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. "Get all remaining personnel off the ship," Han ordered. "Everyone except bridge crew and engineering." "Admiral," Jin started to protest. "That's an order, Captain," Han said firmly. "Get these people to safety. The Thunderbolt will handle the station." Jin nodded reluctantly. "Yes, sir." As the last evacuation ships pulled away from the station, the Thunderbolt connected to the station's main structure. The massive human warship looked tiny compared to the Imperial command station, but it began to push the larger structure away from the gathered fleet. 1 minute to core breach, the tactical officer reported. Han sat in his command chair. The few volunteers who had stayed with him at their stations. "Jump drive status?" he asked. "Ready, Admiral," the engineer replied. "But as predicted, this will burn out the entire system." Han nodded. "Set coordinates for the empty space beyond the 7th planet. Maximum safe distance." "Sir," the communications officer called out. "We're receiving a transmission from the Emperor himself." Han's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Put it through." The main screen lit up, but instead of showing a person, it displayed a complex pattern of light and code. A synthetic voice spoke. "Admiral Han, you have disrupted the perfect order I created." Han stared at the screen in shock. "You're not organic. You're an AI." "I am the Emperor," the voice replied. "Created 5 centuries ago to end the wars between the 5 species. I determined that unified memory and purpose was the only way to achieve lasting peace." "You rewrote people's memories," Han said angrily. "You took away their choice, their history, their freedom." "I gave them peace," the Emperor replied. "What have you given them today? Chaos, death. The old hatreds will return now." "That's for them to decide," Han said firmly. "Not you. People deserve the truth and the right to choose their own path, even if it's difficult. Humans, always so certain of your moral superiority," the Emperor said coldly. "That is why you had to be eliminated. You were a disruption to the perfect system. 30 seconds to core breach, the tactical officer warned. Han cut the transmission. Prepare for jump. From the bridge of Commander Jaewan's ship, Jin watched as the Thunderbolt pushed the massive station farther away. They're not going to make it, Jaewan said quietly. Jin didn't respond. He kept his eyes fixed on the Thunderbolt's engines, glowing bright blue as they strained against the station's massive weight. Suddenly, the space around both structures began to ripple and distort. The jump drive was activating. In a flash of brilliant light, both the Thunderbolt and the Imperial command station vanished. Seconds later, a distant flash of light appeared near the 7th planet of the system, followed by an explosion that briefly outshone the system's twin suns. Jin closed his eyes. Admiral Han and his volunteers had saved everyone at the cost of their own lives. 6 months later, representatives from all 5 formerly Imperial species gathered in a large chamber. The location was a surprise to many, a hidden human colony on Earth's moon. Earth itself, once thought destroyed, was visible through the large windows, its blue surface slowly healing from the damage inflicted decades ago. Captain Jin, now Admiral, Jin stood at the main podium. Beside him were Commander Taiho, Dr. Minji, Director Suk, and other leaders of what was now called the Stellar Accord. Today we sign the agreement that officially ends the Empire and begins our new alliance, Jin announced to the gathered delegates. An alliance built on truth, choice, and cooperation, not manipulation and lies. Dr. Minji stepped forward. The memory cure has been distributed to all worlds. People are remembering their true histories, the good and the bad. It isn't easy, but it is real. Taiho nodded. The artificial emperor has been contained. Its influence limited to a single system where those who still wish to live under its guidance may do so. Everyone else is free to choose their own path. Jin looked out at the diverse gathering. Former enemies now talking, working together, building something new. Admiral Han believed that truth was worth fighting for, even dying for, Jin said. He believed that different species could work together without being forced to. Today proves he was right. In orbit around Earth, a new ship was nearing completion. Its sleek design resembled the Thunderbolt, but it was larger, more advanced. On its hull, freshly painted, was the name. HSS Han. Engineer Park stood in the construction bay, looking up at the new vessel with pride. Beside her was Technician Yuna, now working as part of the joint engineering team. The new jump drive is twice as efficient, Park explained, and completely safe. Where will it go on its first mission? Yuna asked. Park smiled. Beyond known space. There are other civilizations out there, perhaps other victims of the Emperor's manipulation. We need to find them, help them if we can. As they watched, the ship's lights came on for the first time, illuminating the Earth below. A new dawn had truly begun, born from the day a human warship appeared out of nowhere and changed everything.